Okay, we are here discussing our 2025 budget. The first department we're going to be going over is our assessors department. So without further ado,
Okay, so we're first going to start off with the assessor's lines regarding the full-time salary. So we have Mike, the assessor, Al, the deputy assessor, Sharon, and Sierra, who also work in that office. And the salary combined will be $383,469. And they're all at their different levels and steps. At overtime, we have it at $1,000. Longevity, we have two of our employees in the assessor's office getting it, one at $975 and the other one at $1,175, bringing the total to $2,150. After that, we have a sick pay incentive, which the assessor's office has been on and off and being qualified for it, but we are budgeting it in for $1,500 for next year. Health stipend, we do have two members in the office who take the health stipend, and that's going to bring us to $7,750 for their health stipend. After that, we have our part-time worker, Jackie, as an assistant clerk part-time at $42, which brings her yearly total to $38,320.
Very much so. Thank you, folks.
No, we have equipment. Just for general equipment, we have it at $1,000. We do have to replace the PC and the monitor for Jackie's next year. So this is recommended by our IT department. So that's going to be roughly around $1,500. So our equipment is at $2,500 for next year. As part of our contract, we have CAI Tech, ORPS MLS, Tyler Software as a system, Toolkit for CMA, the ESRI are just online, as well as the Tyler appraisal, which is currently right now at $0. The only reason it's $0 for this year compared to previous years is because the reappraisal is underway. So that whole reappraisal project is taking the money to the that.
so that capital project is paying our annual fee for this year. So it'll come back next year, unfortunately.
Can you just tell us what CAA Tech is? Like, what does that do?
Absolutely. CAI Tech, they are our mapping vendor. They produce, update, and help us with apportionments and mergers, lot line configurations on the online GIS map.
Good. And then the other one was that ORPTS?
That is the legacy system that we're continuing to maintain in parallel with the new application to make sure that we have at least a year or two of parallel run before we cut the cord on that legacy. And that's about, is that 2,200?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the state charges that license, but it's for everyone in the office. It's a site license.
So these are just annual contracts?
Exactly right. And I don't think Works has changed that many years.
No, I believe not.
And the other ones, MLS and Tyler.
Yeah, and then we're probably going to be getting
Last year
this
at Tyler?
contract.
Is that the last year at Tyler? Tyler Industries, is that the last year that we have to, in our contract? for them?
No, we use them every year for our yearly appraisal. You want to?
No, absolutely. So we do an annual update between the major reappraisal years. The last major reappraisal, which is capital, I believe, right? That was in 2020. And then 21, 2, 3, and 4, we just do these market trend updates and data collection work and that sort of thing. But we don't do like a re-baselining and wholesale change of all the computer models, comp sales, cost, land. That's what's going on for 25. Much bigger project. But in those interim years, we're always paying for the software as a service and for their appraisal services, which is a fraction of what even a part-time staff would probably cost for the town.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
and
have a question. Mike, for the reval, will the state be giving us a portion back?
They will.
Per-
There's a per parcel
Yeah.
cyclical reassessment aid that they provide, and that number is kind of a moving target because there's a certain amount in the pot.
Mm,
And the regional director for ORPS had told me that depending on who applies in any given year, it can very much change.
Right.
So they say don't submit for reimbursement in a year where New York City has also asked for aid because they take such a large chunk out of that pot. So I tried to coordinate it with them in a year where New York City is not applying, and because I came from that system, I know what year they applied for aid. So hopefully in 25, we'll do our aid plan and we'll get up to $5 per parcel. It's up to it. And it's
Right.
often less than that.
Mhm.
And this is the year where they go around and they do photos of every house and they check every property and they make sure that they still match their property card, which is why they did the mailing to everybody to say, is this still accurate to your property? And this is the chance for somebody to say, I don't have 4 bedrooms, you know, or whatever it may be.
That's 6.
Yeah.
And we're receiving hundreds of return mail every few days. You know, we welcome it. We thank the public for participating because so much of what we do is public-private participation. We need to have that sort of feedback. There are only 4 or 5 of us, but there are 10,000 parcels and tens of thousands of residents. Let us know if we don't have it right.
And that's due at the end of this month, correct? The forms to return back?
That's right. I believe the 25th.
Yeah.
Although if folks submit it afterwards, we'll still consider it.
Is it considered? Okay.
Because, you know, we are, you know, and then we'll start our drives and our inspection process in the month of November.
Too late as my dad, I don't think I signed it in yet. Now that we're talking about that.
Come by anytime.
Come by, yes, after this. And just so you guys can know, the Tyler contracts would also be up for the, on the resolution, so you guys can take a look at that when you come in as well.
Okay.
Next up, we have printing and postage. So we have to do the SEMA notification mailing, just general printing and postage for legal notices and the COA notices for reassessment. So that brings us up to $14,500 for the printing and postage for next year. Keeping in mind also that postage prices
Postage
do
is gonna go
increase.
up.
Yeah, so that's what we're roughly trying to budget it as right now. Office and supplies expense, we have it at $2,250 for next year. For the maintenance equipment and leases, we have the copier lease at $142 a month for the 12 months, so that brings us to $1,704. Next up, we have our professional dues and meetings, we budgeted at $850. Mileage at $400, and that's usually taken advantage by the deputy assessor. Next up, we have consulting services at $20,000. And
That was changed to
that
that,
was changed.
because that's where, we have.
The
Oh, yes,
appraisal.
yes, yes.
Oh, the Fernando, right?
Mm,
And then we have training school and education at $3,000 and $3,500. So that is for the assessor's budget.
Martha, pardon me, I know that I had actually recommended a reduction to that line. Is that something that will be reducing down?
Training
For the
school?
oh, my
Training school.
apologies. Oh my God, I'm looking at the wrong
It's
column.
3,500 to 1,500.
Sorry, it's the next column, $1,500. Thank you, I'm so sorry. I was
No, and
Are
not
you
too busy
planning-
looking at 2 columns here.
Are you planning on only sending one person to training? I know you went to one this year, right?
Yeah, there's an International Association of Assessing Officers and the New York State Association. For next year, I've elected not to go to the IAAO, or if I do go, I'll take care of that in my own
Good.
pocket.
All right, and next year you might have new people.
We're gonna
so-
do like every other
Yeah,
year.
'cause next year you might
I
have
think
new
that makes
people.
sense. I do, yes, right. We may very well have people who require training and all that. And Martha, my apologies, just want to go back one.
Mhm.
I also noticed it on the office and supplies budget. I think we said 2,250, but we increased that just ever so slightly
Yes.
to 2,500. Is that all right?
Yes,
Okay.
sorry, I'm seeing double side. I'm
No,
like
no.
looking at the screen, looking
I've
down
been
here and
doing
I
it the
read the
entire
wrong
time as
column.
well, so it's not
Thank
just
you,
you.
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay.
Did you say there's an international organization?
There is. In Denver this year, you had over 14 countries represented, a really
Wow.
interesting contingent from the Netherlands, talking about their canal valuation. They have a conference of 1,800, 2,000 people will show up at the State Association that's somewhere here in New York. But it's a large community, bigger than one might think.
Yeah, it's great.
Next, following up, we have the Board of Assessment Review. Budget as for there is no part-time, so it's at $0. Contractual here, we have a $20,000. And then just office supplies and expense at $500. And that's used from the Board of Assessment and Review. That
Our
is all.
department total. 500.
No.
27,814.
Nope.
No,
500.
505, sorry.
64.
Yeah, all right, I'm down, you got me looking at the wrong one.
But that's it.
$22,000 savings.
Well, that's only
Mostly
because of
consulting.
Tyler
Mhm.
And consulting.
and the consultant,
Mhm.
yes.
And that is the assessors. Any questions, comments?
Folks, thank you.
Okay,
Nice to
Thank
see
you.
you in
Thank
person.
you.
I'm used to just seeing everyone.
See you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next department is our tax receiver department, and we have the lovely Holly Crowe.
Good morning.
Give me 1 second. please. Okay. Off to do our tax receivers. So we have our full-time salaries for Holly as the tax receiver and Patty as the deputy tax receiver. Their totals coming up to $165,216 for 2025. We don't have anything budgeted for overtime. Longevity, we have Patty at $775. Followed up by sick pay incentive, which Patty is usually takes advantage of, but she usually takes that at a partial payment for it, so we budgeted at $500. Health stipend at $5,250, as Patty does not take our health insurance, she waives it. For our part-timer, we have Aaron at $20, so that brings us our total to $17,871. Up next, we have our equipment. So we've been recommended that we need to change one of the computers for the remote office in the first floor. So that's again, the same thing, it's gonna be $1,500. And then any general equipment at $2,000, which brings our total to $3,500. Next up, we have our contractual payments, and this is for municipal payments slash express pay at $750. Next up, we have our printing and postage for our fulfillment center, as well as postage at $16,200. Our office and supplies expense at $1,200. Our maintenance for the equipment and leases, we have the currency counting counterfeit machine, a CAR slash LAR licenses, our copier lease at $210 a month. This is a new lease that's starting as of October of this year. And then we just have the Cummins annual maintenance for the first and the third floor machines, and that brings our total to $4,620. Professional dues and meetings at $500. Our conferences for the Association of Towns for Holly, as well as the NYSARC meeting, NYSARC meeting, mileage, NYSARC, thank you, meeting, I was reading it differently, mileage and other, that brings our total to $1,550. For mileage, we don't have anything currently budgeted there. Consulting services, same, nothing currently budgeted, nothing else for training, school education, and nothing else for books. Following up on our next page, this is just our revenues for gain on sale of property, and interest and penalties and taxes, currently anticipated at $500,000. Charges to tax, advertisement and EXP at $8,000 for revenue, and then memo for bill and admin charges, revenue at estimated at $9,000. That brings us a total to the tax receivers budget.
To add anything?
I just wanted to clarify, just as a thought, that the PC monitor that we're buying for the first floor just made me want to share that we actually have our office most of the time on the third floor, but during collection, we're on the first floor, which has been a change in the last several years due to COVID. And it's clearly a challenge to be in two different locations, but we make it work because that's what's been asked of us to do. So I'm grateful to my staff for doing that because it's complicated not to have all your tools in front of you and have to deal with that, but we call it our auxiliary office. And so it's been named that affectionately. The express pay payments, I just want to highlight for you that that's the online ability for people to pay online. And that grows every year as the demographics of our town changes and more people want to pay online as in the younger generation. I guess those are the things that just popped up at me that I just thought I would add a little clarity.
What is that, the Cummings machine this time?
Cummins machine allows us to remotely, it does two things. It allows us to remotely deposit checks so that when we collect, the next day it's in our bank account, which is really great. And it also is a cash counter because you know, we do accept tax payments in cash as well. So it does two things. And we also have one downstairs in the auxiliary office that we share with the village because they use it for their collections of taxes and also water payments. And that just counts cash.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for helping us keep it within the tax cap.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna continue,
Wednesday.
We're
What do
live.
I do on Wednesday?
we're gonna continue our hearings
Go to Sing Sing.
with the town clerk. We're joined by town clerk Sue Donnelly.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay.
Okay,
So we're gonna start
So
off.
Martha's gonna go through and you can talk about any line that you feel like you want
much
to.
would prefer it that way.
Okay, so next up, we have our full-time salaries for the clerk. So we have the clerk as well as the deputy clerk, bringing our total to $177,837. Just to keep in mind that 30% of their salary is then invoiced over to the, 70% is sent over to the village because they do through the IMA that we have with them. Next up, we have our overtime at $800 for next year. Longevity, Janet does not qualify for longevity just yet. Followed up by our sick pay incentive. We have it budgeted at $1,000. Next up, we have our town clerk health stipend.
What is the 5,000 for?
The $5,000 for the stipend is for Janet. She waives the family health insurance fee.
It's 5,000?
Yep, because
Okay.
she's family.
Okay,
Mhm,
I just
it's
didn't
not
know that was.
individual.
Could you throw me a pen over here? I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
she
I
gets-
came
yeah.
rushing up because they said.
No
you-
problem.
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, so like I said, she waives the health insurance and
Okay,
for CSCA,
that's
she
fine.
gets that amount.
That's fine, but I just didn't understand why it had to be 5,000.
Yeah,
I
and
thought maybe
she
they cut
she
a
let
million
us
on that.
know as of like, I think
Unfortunately,
late last
yeah.
year that she was getting it, that's why it wasn't budgeted in for this year.
All
But
right,
for next
fine.
year, we're putting it in.
Yeah, the board changed that a few years ago from the lower number to.
Yeah, yeah.
5,000.
Next up, we have our part-timers. We have both Jennifer and Jessica at $18.50 per hour. And again, 70% of their salary is gonna be charged to the village. That brings our total to $33,670. Next up, we have equipment.
Okay, can I talk about equipment?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, the PC for the records room at the Armory is in this year's budget, not next year's.
Oh, so we don't need it?
So the 1,500 comes out, the 250 comes out, and you have I ordered the scanner for in there too. Against 2024. And so the only thing I ask you for is, see how you have the $900 for general?
Mhm.
Just make that 1,000, so I'm giving you back 1,650 on that line. Okay, because it's this year's budget for the,
So the
You
computer.
were
she's
able
got
to-
it already.
You were
Computer
able
wanted
to
make
fit
sure you
that?
got it this year.
Yeah,
Sue, you were able to fit that into this year's?
yeah, it's
budget?
already bought. It's
I
been bought-
understand you bought it, but did it fit?
No, no,
within
no,
your
no,
current
it was
budget?
my fishing and
Oh,
okay.
hunting computer.
Ah, okay.
That they changed the whole system. I don't need the special printer. I moved it back into their PCs. Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
perfect,
okay,
thank you.
okay.
Okay.
You
Okay,
gotta have a different tower for each little thing, you have a different. tower?
You have a
Statement.
tower for each thing, each desk, but we have our folders and our drives are out in the cloud somewhere.
Gotcha.
It's on the Laserfish.
Mhm.
Laserfish is all cloud-based.
okay, so we're gonna be changing that to just $1,000 then. Okay, got it, thank
Saving
you.
1650.
Big bucks coming in.
Next up, we have our contracts. We
Okay,
have the,
yeah, the foil tracker, not the foil tracker. Oh, never mind. Never mind. I'll wait this for later.
so we have our FOIL tracker annual fee, our BAS annual support fee, our general code supplementation costs, and then our seamless docs fee.
Right.
And that brings us to $13,970. And again, just big thanks again for getting us in seamless docs as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up, we have our publication of legal notices. At
You know
five-
what, I have one question. Are more and more people using the online forms?
In my department,
Yes.
we're 100%.
Okay, so you're not giving the option, okay,
Well, if a 90-year-old woman comes in, I have paper.
okay.
Yeah, and if the auditor, the Long Island auditor or the Bronx auditor comes in, I have paper for foils, but 99.9%.
Okay,
There's only one person that has paper on their desk, and that's me, because everybody else doesn't need it, right?
The community can still print it out and bring in the hard copy, right? They don't have to submit it online.
For anything for your stuff, everything is online. Especially if it's parking, which doesn't have anything to do with you, the muni parking, the train station parking, and maybe in 2026, on street parking, but not this year. So no, they are encouraged. Foils take much longer if you give us a piece of paper. Okay, so it's expressed, but yes, if you come in and you need a death certificate because you have to go to the bank or something, they'll get it for you. They'll get it stuff.
Good, thanks.
Following up our publication of legal notices at $5,000.
May I please beg you, as a board, to go to our state senator, Pete Harcum, and our assemblywoman, Dana Levenberg, and plead with them to stop this. We must publish in a newspaper all these legal documents, all your laws, all your everything. They're all online. There are no newspapers, but the newspaper lobby up in Albany is still so strong that they force you to do this, and it's crazy land. $5,000 for a paper that nobody gets.
And the price depends on how many publications you're making, right?
Well,
Because if
you're
look back, right,
different from the village that when you do a law, we have to publish the whole law. We try to do as much in the Gazette as possible, because for some reason Gary doesn't even charge us. Well, it's not
Charge
good,
everybody else.
but
he
Gary's,
needs to.
he needs to, but we only see Gary lasting for a couple more years, because did you ever see his legs and stuff like that? So, yeah, he and I had a long conversation yesterday on the phone. He has the most swollen legs. Oh, sorry. I forgot. I don't know why we're live. Why are we live? Edit.
So in 23, when it says 8,000, and we only use 380, that was just good that we didn't have them published, right? So if you look at the
No,
last
we
couple of
put as
years.
much as we can into the Gazette. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's like certain things that like if it's last minute that we have to do, it has to go to the
Yeah.
journal news. And then like we have to go and they do
Sometimes
charge
you have
by
to
like
put it
extensions or
into-
paragraphs and how long
Two.
you're taking it up.
Sometimes you
Two
have to put
requests,
it
2 weeks
into
with 5.
journal news.
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
Because well, we have to do holiday stuff.
For like the
Oh.
weeds,
So
right?
all
that's
the holiday
including some of
stuff,
the stuff,
yeah,
too.
that's all of the stuff as
Gotcha.
well, and also to just kind of.
When we have to
For
alternate,
everyone,
we
yeah.
have sometimes have to alternate papers for
Gotcha,
tax
understood. If you're,
things.
if Holly's involved.
Sorry.
Back up to printing and postage at $250.
Okay.
Also, thank you to Janet for figuring how to send FedEx more cheaply. That's how I
Yeah.
cut the number down. So thank you, Janet. Next up to our office and supplies expense at $3,000. Maintenance of office equipment and leases. We have a copier lease at $205 a month, and then anything additional that needs to be done at $1,000. So that brings our total to $3,450.
Question on that. Why is there a discrepancy on the copier prices between departments? Are they trending up that much?
Yeah, so they're, yeah, they're
Yeah.
at different contracts
Yeah.
and at different times, and different usage, thank you. And so like we get like an annual printing that they have to do. So like some of the offices are a lot bigger, some of the offices are a lot lower. It also depends, you want black and white, do you want color? And also the
1,000 copies,
models are
2,000
different.
copies, right?
Yeah, so that's pretty much different. Like, I think up here, we have something mixed in with the core, so we get, I think, 6,000 pages. You also get black and white, so that's kind of what the difference is. And also a couple of the contracts are expiring, so we've really tried to keep the price as close as we can, but with everything increasing, it's a little bit higher.
And then it turns out that we're getting an added increase, to just, take our data hard drive back. Because they wanted to take it back and clean it themselves, and we don't want to release the information out of the municipal hands. So there's an added fee for us to retain that and wipe it ourselves.
It's the same company throughout the town and village, for the leasing company.
I'm not sure about the village, but for the town, yes, the town, we have one whole copy or contract, I believe it's with Atlantic, and then we get the lease to Delage, yeah.
Right.
And that's pretty much it, yeah, so that's that. Next up, we have professional dues and meetings, for the New York State Town Clerks Association. And the IIMCP for clerk and the deputy clerk to be part of it, and then anything other that may show up, to $1,000. Next up, we have consulting services at zero. Yeah. Conferences, thank you. The conferences we have for the Association of Towns, for, Sue and Janet, any other meetings that they may wish to, and then there just was a little discrepancy of where the AOT membership was being charged, that way, it's been noted it's been charged to another line now, so it brings our total to $500. And consulting services at $0, training, school, and education at $1,000. And just as a reminder, if you guys please sign up for the AOT meetings if you're attending before, October 28th,
Before the
because
end.
they're gonna charge us $30 less if we do it.
So we
next
just
up-
gotta adjust the bottom number then, minus 1,600. 1,650.
Oh, the bottom, yes, because we're getting rid of the $1,750. Next up, we have for the elections, the clerk election stipend at $2,700.
Okay, so let's be perfectly clear that we know in advance that we will have 3 elections next year. Because the county executive will have to have a special election
Right.
in March. I think it's in March, but it has to be 90 days exactly to the day or something. So we had 3 elections this year, but we get reimbursed, right, Dale? We get reimbursed from the county, but if you want to have
Accurate.
a reflective, then we should add another $1,300.
We get 100% reimbursement?
Now we're down to 300.
I wasn't taking it away. I'm just being, but we get that back from the county. Yeah, but there will definitely be,
Yeah, at
crazily
least.
as it sounds, there will be 3 elections next year. Praying that they don't make us open all the polling stations for the county.
So with that, that would bring it up to $4,000 then?
4,000.
4,000?
Okay, Dale, and then
Yes.
at least it's accurate then.
There's a wash,
Under-
there's a revenue side that'll wash that out.
Under
So
clerk
it's-
elections, like, no.
Yeah, under clerk
And
election
if we budgeted
stipend,
4 and
it's
it
gonna
comes
be
in at
4,000.
5, we're still gonna get 5 back.
Yeah.
from the county.
Oh, yeah. No, because they pay on,
That's what's nice.
Dale sends them up a spreadsheet and they pay the
That's a wash.
spreadsheet.
either way.
Then we have overtime, election overtime for the deputy clerk at $1,700. For the part-time, for the
Do we
staff,
need to increase that one also?
No, because I don't keep people here all day. I sit here all day.
next up, we have our part-time clerk staff for the election at $500. Office and supplies at $0. The Westchester County election cost, at $87,790, and that's an anticipated 3% increase from 2024. Nothing for election storage, election carding, or training school or education for election.
Because Westchester County, you know that Westchester County took over our elections many years ago now. So it used to be that you used to have to do all this stuff yourselves. So. How many years till we can drop those lines down?
We can delete them off now because they're 0. My problem is I don't have the ability in Edmonds to actually take them off
Okay.
completely. So every year, Let me tell you what it is.
Yeah, but
Maybe I can
not now,
change it
yeah.
to not be a budgeted line,
Right.
and that way it doesn't automatically carry, because what happens is I'm building from the prior year. So I take last year's adopted budget, copy it over, and it becomes your requested budget, for the next year.
So that it's just when we have zeros all the way from 2020 on,
Yeah, well, we don't, because we do this in Excel, when we
Yeah.
build the actual budget document proper, so we don't include zero.
County election reimbursement, we're still waiting for that 85? Is that
No, we
coming?
give them
We give them
85.
85. So we have to give them still. 85.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's well worth it,
Okay.
because I can't even imagine what it costs for us to train
Staff
all
hours and
our.
everything.
Find and train and count on.
Gotcha, no.
And, yeah,
We're good.
depend on them being here.
Good decision.
Following up on page 6, we have our contracts for record retention at $13,795, and this encompasses the general code Laserfish and the town email services.
These is, you have record retention for, and mine show it here, the town portion, then I have other portions
Yes,
here.
and then as we move along.
It's gonna go down because we're cutting the number of licenses that we have in Laserfish, and we're taking out the participation licenses, which we had for you guys, but nobody ever used them. So if you need something, you just call us and we'll get it for you, for the Laserfish.
Trying to save money.
No,
Next
you're not saving me money.
Next up, we have, again, like
You
you
will
said,
now.
this is for the town outside for the general code Laserfish and the town email services at $11,743.
And Dale should have that, Dale and Liz should have that number, the new number, before these are finalized. I told them I had to have it this week. Okay.
Next up, we have our animal control contractual fees at $0. And then for our SPCA fees, we have the dogs at $970.98 a month. And then our tax TNT program bringing us our total to $13,152.
So I understand the trap, with the trap neuter thing,
Yeah.
and then you have the dogs.
Mhm.
Is that just for stray dogs that are just around?
So it's not
villages
for
or town?
particular dogs. We pay a monthly fee for the SPCA, the village pays
So all for
one
those
too.
services to have,
Yeah,
the-
just for them, yeah,
no matter how many dogs you bring,
No.
whether it's 1 or 100.
right.
How many dogs are found wandering in the town? You can't
That
just
don't,
kinda- yeah.
that don't, that get to the SPCA.
Gotcha.
Sometimes people call us up and, because our phone number's on the collar, on their tag, and they call us up and they say, oh, I just found this dog, and if we can contact the person.
You would.
Yeah, yeah.
But do they, our policemen drop them off?
Yeah.
Not our highway staff or park staff?
No, no, it's
but
not our
always
police.
Police, right?
Or the well wisher, or whoever found it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you wanna bring that right over to the SPCA?
Next up, we have general code for Laserfish for the town highway portion, as well as the town email services at $11,743 for total.
So the Laserfish got broken up into all funds. That's what that is.
Yeah.
And that-
And then
and that
the-
across the board will go down.
So we don't know what it really.
Everybody's got a piece.
Everybody's got a piece.
Next up, we have the portion for the town cemetery for emails and Laserfish, and that brings us to $9,691. And then we have onto our revenue. So we have is for 2025 for clerk fees at $7,500, public health fees at $13,000. Next up, followed by this is the clerk IMA services with the village that we get back the money at $210,960. Elections that we get back money at $6,000.
That's gonna get increased by the 1,300.
Right. That will balance. it out.
Next up, we have dog redemption fees, and we're not estimating anything else of yet, and then for the dog licensing fees at $5,000. Page, false alarm fines at $500.
Yeah, it's a little high because the last 4 years, it's $50, $50. Zero.
We have not been,
Building enforcement. Building or enforcement.
people have gotten,
Notices.
people have gotten much better with their, hello out there, in the big world. People have gotten much better with their false alarms. It's false alarms. On top of that, I'm going to be asking both boards to look at their alarm code this year, not now. Let's get into the middle of the first quarter or second quarter or something. And because with Safe Life and all the Nest and everything, it's changed. Alarm companies have changed.
And we also give them a courtesy, the first one that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't go ahead.
If they're registered.
If they're
And,
registered, yes.
and where do you have your most alarms coming from? Your schools. your-
Nonprofits, nonprofits.
Mm,
Oh,
Nursing homes.
Yeah, well, not nursing homes as much as
No.
schools
Yeah.
and
Our
community
building.
centers.
Community
and-
Our building.
No, our building,
Community center.
the DPW.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Elevator calls. Yeah.
yeah, so that's, yeah.
And then, oh, next page.
But that's also, I just want to go over, that also reflects in the alarm registration numbers dropping.
Right.
Because of the new alarm systems and something that we'll look at this year, okay?
So false alarms are 500, yes, and then the alarm registration at $9,000. And that's it for the town clerk. Any questions or comments?
Keep up the good work.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep on making it easier for us. Staff hours.
Okay, continuing with our budget hearings, we are going to do the town court, and we are joined by Judge Levitt.
So we begin with our full-time salaries. That includes the judges, the 3 judges, as far as our court clerks, our assistant court clerks, and our intermediate clerk. That brings our total to $441,978, and of that 2% is charged back. Next up, we have by our overtime budgeted right now at $18,000. Longevity, we have a couple of our staff that have reached different levels of longevity at the court, which brings our total to $3,300. Sick pay incentive at $5,000. The staff typically takes advantage of the sick pay incentive. Followed up by our health stipend. We have the health stipend of Janet. So 50% of it is charged to this line at $2,500, and then the rest is charged onto the other line that we'll see later on. Next up, we have part-time, and this includes the salary of our court officers, our 7, as well as our part-time clerk, who's a new hire at $18 an hour, which brings our total to $28,590. Next up, we have our equipment at $300. Our telephone and internet, we have the phone service, Optimum, Verizon Passline and phone services, brings us to $4,500. Next up, we have printing and postage at $7,000. Our office and supplies expense, which includes our general office supplies as well as our bank courier services, at $9,300, and again, 50% is charged here to this line.
And just to note, the majority of that is the bank courier service, which we require for monetary deposits to be brought to the bank. I think it's bi-weekly, so.
Do we need to increase
For
twice?
what? Yeah, two days a week.
Sorry,
Yeah,
bi-weekly is
split
every
between
other,
that
week,
and
right,
part.
sorry.
Oh, okay.
Twice a week.
Mhm.
Or how do you say twice a week?
Bi-weekly.
No.
No.
Bi-weekly is every
No,
2
bi-weekly
days.
is every 2 days.
You say it twice a week.
Twice a week. Come on, I want a free fix. I want a free fix.
What's the 6,600 divided by, that's 6,600 for the year?
Yeah, so 5,600 for the year, so 50% is charged to this line, and then the other line is gonna be to traffic, yeah. It's gonna be the traffic line. Followed up, we have our maintenance of equipment and supplies. This includes our ARCO cleaning, our court copier lease, and our postage lease. And that brings us to $11,958. Next up, we have our constable services at $11,500. Professional dues and meetings at $800. Conferences at $500. Uniforms for the court attendants as well as periodic cleaning of the judges' robes at $800. Nothing for consulting services, stenographer and translator services at $25,000. Books at $900.
Just a second. If you added a translator, do you think that's gonna be enough or are we so far?
At 18 grand.
Yes,
That's gonna be enough? Okay.
absolutely.
For the books, subscription service for updating.
So books, the legal text that we use to consider motions and things like that get updated on differential schedules depending on the publisher. So LexisNexis and Westlaw are the two big publishers. We don't have a subscription to anything, but we have certain texts that we consider to be out of date or a new new edition has come out. And so those, I can't say it's, search and seizure every year or something. So it's a little bit more, I don't want to say random, but it's not a subscription.
And it's not digital, it's all print.
That's correct. That's correct. We do have access through the court system, not payable by the town, to electronic databases to do case research, but the texts themselves are also valuable resources that we have and can be accessed easily on the bench and things like that. So, yeah.
We are off to the traffic. So this is where the rest of that 50% for Janet's salary is going to be charged, as well as the 2% over the 2024 from the town justice, which brings us to $45,752. Overtime at $7,000. Nothing for longevity is charged here yet. Sick pay incentive, 500%, $500, and that's 50% for the intermediate clerk. Here. Health stipends, 50% here for Janet, which brings us to the $2,500, which is the other half is on the other side. Part-timers, the same thing. This is the other 50% at $13,290. Contractual, we have nothing here. Printing and postage, and any additional printing and postage paid by mail at $5,000. Office and supplies expense at $4,300, and this is again general supplies, and then this is the other half of the bank courier services.
Okay.
Maintenance of equipment and leases at $250. Responsible security and services, this is for the police IMA general fund allocation and regular budgeted amount, and brings our total to $5,000. Our stenographer and translator services at $2,500. Page 7. This is when we're going to get to our revenue. And we're anticipated to get from the Park Services IMA from the village $98,809. And fines of ordered pictures at $210,000. And that is the budget for the town clerk.
Why did it drop so much, the revenue? And I see reduced parking ticket processing be paid directly by village. Usually in the past years, 138, 145.
We used to contract with Complus, which then turned to Passport, which then turned to something else, and so now the village is just paying it directly. It's just easier because it ended up just being faster. So we took it out, I think, last year. 2024, we changed the process of that. So it's not on your expense side either, that
Yeah.
came off the
Okay.
expenses.
So
So
it's pretty much
really,
a
it was
wash.
just a
Yeah.
watch.
Parking pretty much is all.
Yeah,
the
but that number
budgets are
stands out when you
watched
see that much difference. In
Mhm. Mhm. And the fine and forfeiture revenue is only we've only received through July at this point from the state, the invoice. They'll send an invoice which shows where the different pieces go.
Questions or comments? Anybody?
No,
No,
thank you.
No,
Thank you.
I just wanted to, I guess, note my silence on the income portion, because as a court, as judges, we are assessing fines and penalties on a case-by-case basis. We don't consider it income. So this is always a little bit of a, uncomfortable place to come to because or recognize it's part of the town budgeting process. It's not something that the court takes an active interest in terms of like an annual amount, because we are concerned with adjudicating justly the people who come before us individually on the facts of their case and their personal circumstances. So I was gonna say that's the reason I didn't say anything, but I apparently just said a whole bunch of things. So-
Well, it's a good
Yeah,
explanation.
good explanation.
But yeah, but we realize that this is a budgeting process and it's a neutral process. We're not looking to you for a revenue stream. It's just the reality of the situation, so we want to be accountable.
100%, and transparency is can't be overvalued, and so I appreciate that. I just sort of wanted to have that little caveat there for us.
Keep up the good work. We like the revenue.
Thank you, thank you.
And,
Yes.
okay, we're gonna be continuing our budget meetings with our seniors department. And we have our head of our senior nutrition program, Lynn Muller, with us. Martha's been going over line by line.
Okay.
And then if you have any comments or things that you want to talk about, or just let us know.
Just a reminder, we are recording to post this later on to YouTube.
So it's recording.
So first up, we're gonna start, we don't have anything for the 100-6770 for, full-time. We have $0. For equipment, we have the general equipment for dining in at $750. Followed up by office and supplies expense at $1,500. Food supplies at $0. Contractual food at $72,450. And then other, this is just the rent for the year, right? Correct? Dale?
Yes.
So, yes.
Okay, so we went out to bid, but we're expecting it to stay similar to the price it is.
Hope, I have no idea what anybody's bidding, these days. What I've heard is they're bidding a lot more than what we currently pay, so we're just gonna have to wait and see. I was gonna ask you, do we have any contingency for that, just in case? it
Well,
is-
what have you heard?
I just heard from the caterer we have now that other people were bidding like close to $10.
And we're paying 7? Okay, that's a difference.
Yeah, so, but I don't know how true that is. We won't know until some bids come in.
Yeah, we haven't, I did talk to Sue and no bids have come in as of yesterday.
Yeah,
So, but
When they
again,
anticipated to come in.
the anticipated, Halloween on October 30th.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, that's the cutoff date.
So do we
So we'll
want to
have
build a
time.
buffer? in there?
Yeah.
Can we build a buffer? in there? That's a job.
November 1st.
I do think the county reimburses up to 11, I think.
Oh, they changed that because it was 9 last time, I think we looked.
Oh, they're
Or
gonna-
maybe it was,
I know it's more than what we pay, but I don't remember exactly. I know it's a couple of dollars more, so that, we have that. If,
so find out that number as we're looking at the
yes,
contracts.
okay.
Thank you.
So it's $3 more for having more meals.
No, it hopefully be a higher quality meal, but, they, so it's per meal and food prices have gone up. So, I mean, that's realistic.
Yeah.
It's been a while since we bid.
Yeah.
And, we opted to pay a little more a few years ago just to get a higher quality meal for the seniors. So if the trend is a lot higher, when we came to the end of our contract, it's time for us to bid. It's out to bid and we're expecting our replies by Halloween. So we'll have to take a look at what they are and then the packages within that bid for what we want for our seniors. So we'll be having
So we'll have options to
conversations.
pick different packages.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Usually, right? They'll offer
Yeah.
one package or another package.
usually they will, yeah, and from what I remember, I never had to do it, but I remember back in Kathy's.
Right, so, we increased the fresh fruit, or I forgot what we did.
I know that, we won't be having to get as much paper supplies hopefully soon.
right? Lynn's going green,
Yeah.
although with the cost
Trying.
of water, we'll see.
Yeah.
Washing the dishes, if that really works out for us, maybe more, but green.
Yes, we're hoping, so that will help too, because
That's
the
part of
paper,
your rent.
that's,
Yeah.
y'all
Oh,
can, there
good.
you go.
Yes, so,
So
The
that
paper
number,
that way.
products are, you
so that
know,
number can stay,
expensive.
that number can stay until we hear back.
Until we may have to evolve it later.
for the contractual food line, yeah, like I said, we will get a response by next week, so we'll. have
And we're
that-
reimbursed for most of it from the county, so it's,
And you have different plans to pick from. yeah.
right, but if the county's reimbursing up to 11, then
We have wiggle
we
room.
can really have the conversation on, you know, what's the right one for us.
Going back to rent, that brings our total to $44,931. Page 3 now. We have equipment again for the nutrition at $1,500 and contractual food here at $55,000.
And that's the stuff that you're buying separately.
Probably for cold meals. Yeah.
Next up, please ignore that. Next up, we have our salaries from our employees. So we have our different employees at different steps as per the CC contract, and then Lynn as management. So we're at total of $383,954 for them. At overtime, we have budgeted at $500. Longevity, we have a couple of our staff members who have hit their longevity at different levels. That total comes to $4,475. Sick pay incentive at $6,000, and the staff usually takes advantage of that. A part-timer, we have still budgeted in for a part-time service helper at $16.50, and that's at $15,015.
We're gonna keep that, especially if they have to wash dishes.
Yeah, so you let us know if, you know, if you need to hire somebody for that
Okay.
when the time comes. Next
Don't
up,
feel bad.
yeah, don't feel obligated. Didn't tell me budgeted in to have to say anything. Next up, we have general office equipment at $1,000. Contractual, we have art and dance classes as well as a social worker.
Okay, wait, I just want to go back. Because we've done the, you know, we have 50,000 actual, that was, on a COVID grant, I believe, correct?
Yeah,
So that's, the general office equipment and money that you spent here, you've, total 50,000 so far, that's gonna be reimbursed, correct? Okay, just clarifying.
Next up for our art and dance classes and social worker, we have budgeted for $29,495. Our telephones, we don't have anything in that line. Printing and postage specifically for our taxi coupons at $1,000. Maintenance of office equipment and leases, this is for the new copier lease at $135 a month. Which brings us to $1,620, which by the way, have they delivered that yet or no?
No.
I know, I think he said that there was some backup at the factory.
Okay.
So hopefully they'll come by the end of the year.
okay.
And I'll reach out to him again about that. Next up, we have professional dues and meetings at $0. Unleaded fuel at $5,000. Call a cab at $35,000. Uniforms at $2,000 for the staff.
Okay, that's right.
2,000, yes, 2,000. So I went in and kind of did the math, and it's $400 per employee, and it's 2 chauffeurs, 1 bus driver, and 2 food service helpers.
Yeah.
So that brings us to $2,000. Yeah, I double checked that last time. Next up, we have office and supplies expense.
Here's to our brand.
The this program at $4,500. Food and supplies here, $21,000.
It's working? Yeah, it's working.
On to page 8. Under our OK program, for overtime at $4,000. Nothing for part-time or other. Followed up by our revenue now. For the meal snap fees at $3,000. All our cab fees at $18,000. The C1 meal fees at $8,000. The C2 home delivery meal fees at $10,000. Transportation fees at $1,000. Nutrition program for the county. We have them in budget at 0. State aid for WIN at $38,000. The federal 3B program aging at $10,000. Federal C1 meals at $49,038. The C2 home delivery meals for federal at $20,041. Federal commodity funding at $38,633. Federal 3B transportation at $3,000, and then nothing for the HDC2, HDCR CARES Act federal funding.
Yeah, that's it, that's done.
That's fine. And that's it for the senior department. Any questions, comments?
Did we encapsulate everything?
Yeah, it was just my biggest question was about cable.
Okay, and yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah,
Get to that.
okay. Everything else is-
Yeah, so
Kitchen's all finished, and I'm left in the kitchen.
is the dishwasher working?
I'm still waiting.
Okay, you said John fixed it, but then didn't fix it.
Right, I need a professional, plumber
Did you call him?
I don't know any, and I'm asking around, I
Call
have-
Matt.
Is the bill is.
Yeah,
there?
have a bid.
The
There's
bid,
an annual
there's a
bid.
bid, local bid.
Oh, there is, because I asked Johnny, he said he didn't know.
Yeah.
It needs a restaurant, like a commercial, I guess, type thing, so who do I
See
call?
if Matt's good with you.
Oh, Matt, okay.
What's his business?
That's CK,
CK?
CK. yeah,
CK Plumbing.
And then he could lead you in the right direction.
So he's the
Okay.
annual bidder for the year.
Because I asked
Call him quick.
Desiree if he could find one.
Here's almost over.
Is that a new piece of equipment?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's out of warranty,
Oh, of course.
Because they bought it and it sat there for,
a year. almost.
Yeah.
The phone number is 914-373-4149.
Oh, look at you. 1-4-3-7-3. What was the rest?
okay.
4149.
All right, so that's it for our senior department.
Thank you,
And
guys.
join us on Friday for continued budget hearings for which departments, Martha?
Parks, highway, capital project, cemetery.
Parks, Highway, Capital Projects, and Cemetery. It's always fun. See you on Friday.